The opinions expressed in this show are the views of the host and not necessarily that of WTRW, 94.3 The Talker, or the Bold Gold Media Group.
The following presentation is paid for by Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate, who is solely responsible for its content. Portions transcribed.
All Century 21 real estate offices are independently owned and operated.
This is the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. Good morning. I'm Jackie Ruddy, broker, and with my co-host, fellow realtor, Pat Devaney.
Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning, Pat. How are you?
I'm doing well. You beat me to it.
I did. I tried, and I did it.
You did. You got it.
We are with James Caceres, full-time bilingual associate broker with over $15 million in sales since he got into the business 3.5 years ago. He's our top producer in 2024. He won the Century 21 Emerald Award and the Century 21 Quality Pinnacle Service Award. Congratulations for all of those awards. And you've received so many before that, prior to that, but we won't mention all of those. So we could, but you are a top producing, performing agent with us and a top lister and a top sales producer. We are thankful for all that you do. Thank you for being with us today also.
Oh, no, you're welcome. Thank you for having me here. Good morning.
We're here every Saturday at 11 a.m., Sunday at 11:30 a.m., where we discuss everything real estate. We have an exceptional real estate office with many relentless realtors who've been guiding, assisting, and advising clients in real estate matters for over 50 years.
During the week, feel free to email us with any questions you have at questions@jruddy.com. That's questions@jruddy.com. Or you can give us a call at 570-344-6724. And when you go to jruddy.com, click on the webcam tab and see what's going on at Dunmore Corners. You never know. You never know what's going on. And we get 20,000 hits a month on that camera.
Yeah, a couple recent accidents at the corner.
Yeah.
And you know what always happens? Everybody has the green light.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Oh, boy.
Everybody has the green light. So guess what? Guess who gets to step in and figure that all out?
We just forward the file. There it is.
Yeah, there you
take a
go.
look.
Yeah, right. And they have to figure it out. So check us out on social media. And remember, you can view our listings, search the MLS listings, and listen to archive radio shows by going to mobile-friendly jruddy.com. That's jruddy.com. Okay, James Caceres. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
right.
How are you guys?
We're doing well, thank you. So, do you find that sellers are still hesitant on listing a home for sale?
Do I find that they're hesitant?
Holding back, maybe not ready.
No, I don't find that they're holding back. What I find is that they want more than what they think the property is worth. So,
Okay.
Wait, that's so unusual. I've never heard of such
I
a thing.
think that's been since the beginning of time.
Yes.
yeah. Well, what I feel is like they know it's a seller's market and it's starting to die down a little bit, you know? So even though we tell them like, you know, we run the comps and you know, we estimate that this is probably what the house is going to sell for, but they want 40, 50,000 more than what, you know, you have it listed for.
So when you say run the comps, going back to last week,
Here, back into school.
back into school, what does run the comps mean?
So we compare the property that's the subject, the property that the seller wants to sell. We compare it to other properties in the area that have sold that are similar in size, bedrooms, if it has a garage, finished basement. And we compare that property to those properties that have sold based on that. And then if we have to make any adjustments, if one has more bedrooms than the other, we adjust the price for each bedroom. And then at the end, we get like a high, a low, and a median, and a recommended price on what we think the property could sell for.
Right. So usually with the data, and I would call that data equals facts, right? Mm-hmm. Facts don't lie.
Right.
However, sometimes the sellers can't see it, maybe?
Well, they don't agree. A lot of times they don't agree. I've had situations where, you know, it's in black and white. this is what the property sold for, and this is, more or less what they're going for, or what buyers are willing to pay for a house this size and with these features, and they don't want to accept it.
Right. Okay. Well, all right. That's fair.
Right. Then they'll say the guy 2 blocks down got $100,000 more than what you're asking for this one.
Right.
And then what do we say? Well, he had 2 more bedrooms and a garage, and his house was in better shape.
Right.
You have a 2-story that was a ranch that was all brick. Yours is vinyl. So there's differences sometimes.
Right.
But
he has a new roof.
Right. Yeah. So
Things like that.
right. Well, there are people. We've had some inventory shortages over the last few years where listings weren't as plentiful as we needed or wanted for our buyers out there. And not too long ago, on a recent radio show, we talked about how there's 11,000 homes that sell in a day.
In a day.
Wow.
Yeah. And so sometimes the higher home prices and mortgage rates did slow the market down. But that doesn't mean that the market isn't active and that there's people out there that are ready to buy. So more than 11,000 homes are still selling every single day. That's not including new construction. That's over 470 homes an hour and 8 a minute.
Wow.
Now,
I got to get out of here.
Yeah, so
Go sell some homes.
right. So that's, of course,
Nationwide.
nationwide throughout the country. So, but having said all that, believe it or not, home sales were at their lowest level in 30 years in 2024, with only 4 million homes sold. But there were also almost 9 million adults between the ages of 25 and 34 years old still living with their parents and in-laws.
Oh, yeah. I heard something like that the other day, where the average age of someone that's buying a house now is like 38.
With almost 9 million buyers ready to go, if you're thinking about buying a home, don't wait until those other people decide to leave their parents' home, because you'd be competing with them. People have told you for years that prices can't keep going up, but guess what?
They keep going up.
They keep going up.
Why would I want to get out if I got a 4% mortgage? Why would I want to sell that home and go into something else and pay over 6 or 7% for a mortgage?
That's the thinking.
That's the thinking. That's why there's a shortage, and it's supply and demand.
The market doesn't care about feelings. In 2005, with 50 million less people, there were over 7 million home sales. And while there's no perfect time to buy a home, the right time to buy is whenever someone is ready.
That's right. Marry the home and date the rate. You can always refinance.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
So when people put their home on the market and they want to sell it, sometimes they like to make sure that the agents that are coming in to show it have some guidance. And they stay. The sellers stay. And sometimes they hover.
They need guidance.
Right.
Guidance is not the word.
No. And they sometimes hover, and they take everybody on the tour. They're the tour guide, right? They're the tour director, because we might miss that secret door in the primary bedroom's closet. That, maybe would be a nice hiding space for whatever, jewels or money or whatever you have,
I
right?
put all my gold in there.
Okay, right. Well, so we have answers. We have solutions for that. Of course, we have tricks we can take care of that. But do you find that sometimes sellers like to make sure that they're in control of what you see?
Yes. There are times when we go show a property and, they want to stay back and hang out and give you a tour of the home and give you a story about, the property and everything in different rooms.
How do your buyers feel about that? I know how we feel about it, but what do buyers say? What's the feedback?
Well, a lot of times they're not comfortable. They're very uncomfortable. They feel like they're rushed to, see the property. They feel like they may miss something. Especially if like you're following the seller or the homeowner, whoever's living there, and you may miss something where maybe there's a crack on a wall or a leak, signs of a leak somewhere, and they're rushing to go through the rooms, and get you out of there. So a lot of times the buyers, they feel uncomfortable. They rather see a property when no one's home.
Right, because you feel like you're on someone else's turf.
Right.
It's just sellers go someplace, go to Dunkin' Donut for an hour and leave us alone.
And a lot of times they know when we're coming because, we schedule the appointments. So they know when we're coming. They know what time we're going to be there. And a lot of times we happen to get there and they're in the middle of having dinner or breakfast or lunch or.
And sometimes they talk too much. They just say too many things that are not relevant and just, ugh.
Well, the worst is when you have a tenant and the seller is selling the property, but they have a tenant and the tenant tells you, oh, well, this owner doesn't fix this or he doesn't do this. And, it just, the buyer feels like, okay, what am I getting into? So.
Right. So it could be very off-putting, very uncomfortable. Buyers can't see themselves in someone else's home. So if the seller's there, like Pat just mentioned, it just makes it feel like you're visiting a place instead of, owning it and living there. So, yeah. And so what I usually would tell a seller in that type of situation is write out any kind of things that you think would be missed. Write a letter, write a note, put it on the kitchen counter, and explain why you fell in love with the home, what you love about the home, and things that you don't want that buyer and that agent to miss.
Right.
Those special things that you fell in love with or that make a difference to you. But sometimes it doesn't make a difference to a buyer.
Right.
You know?
You have some buyers that don't mind. They kind of like, getting to meet who the seller is and, they feel like, okay, I can talk to the seller and maybe negotiate at that point. And that's, that's something that we tell them we have to go through the realtor.
Right. Right. So it's something that, and of course, if there's valuables, we always tell people if you're afraid that those valuables would go missing, then get them out of there.
Right.
Like get them out of there, get them secure. And I know that's a lot of reasons why sometimes sellers say, oh, I have a valuable sword collection or china collection or crystal collection.
Right.
Box it up, put it in a secure location, and that way you won't feel like it would go missing.
Agreed.
Medication's the same thing. You never know. And we'd like to think that doesn't happen, and it doesn't happen a lot, but it could.
Yes.
Another thing, buyers do like to, when they're in a home, and won't do this if the seller's around, but the buyers should, and they're there to look at this home to buy it. They should know how deep a closet is.
Right.
Or what the kitchen cupboards look like. Right, so they open things.
Yes.
A lot of times, if there's area rugs, they want to lift that area rug to see if the floor underneath is also finished. Right, and they're not going to do that if the seller is there. They feel like they're intruding.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So, and I always let people know that they're going to be looking under beds. They're going to be looking in closets. So straighten it all out. And you can sometimes you open a curtain, you could see that the windowsill hasn't been dusted in a little bit.
In about 10 years.
Right. So that sometimes can tune you into whether or not the property is well maintained.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. If there's dust on that ceiling fan and you could see it.
Or if you go to open a closet and then you're afraid it's going to explode and you're going to get hit with everything that comes out, or it's going to be an avalanche.
Yeah, what's in there?
Oh, yeah.
So it's not snooping. Buyers need to see the appliances, if the oven has ever been cleaned. If that oven and that stove are staying, they're going to check it out.
Absolutely. Yeah, because if it's listed on the on the MLS that it's included, they're definitely going to take a look. Same thing with the refrigerators. They want to see if it's cleaned, if it's working, if the stove is working.
What the storage is like.
Yeah. A lot of the homes, they have like the range on top, and some of them don't even work, or they're just covered in grease,
Yeah.
I like when I go to show a home and the sink is full of dishes and they've been there for like a day or two. That's always nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, these are the things that people do when they're on a showing and they need to see what they're getting into. And it's something that sellers have a hard time with people, with a buyer, a stranger coming into their home looking, but they have to expect it.
Right.
What have you found over the years, interesting things left behind that people do not want? And we're not talking just paint cans, right?
Right. So in the course of my couple of years doing this, I see that a lot of sellers, when they leave the property, for some reason, they leave a lot of religious artifacts, statues and crosses and paintings, books, old clothes. You never know what you're going to find, when you go to these properties.
It's supposed to be broom clean.
That's what the contract says, right?
It's not all the time. I can tell you that.
That's why you do a walkthrough.
Yes, I always recommend getting a walkthrough done. But yeah, a lot of times, you go see the property and, they leave curtains, they leave just things that the buyer just doesn't want,
Well, there's two things that you reminded me of over the years that I saw. So one was actually a buyer that went through a home that the furniture was still there. The person passed away, and the son was selling the home, and the buyer remarked that there were too many crosses in the home. Every room had a cross, and that buyer felt that it was too religious, which I thought was, it was interesting because I didn't share that opinion,
right.
But it's from that person's perspective, and that was the remark while leaving the property. And then another one of our agents not too long ago, the weirdest, strangest thing left behind was a cat.
A cat?
A cat.
They left a cat. Wow.
And the seller actually drove out of state, was moving out of state, got in the car after the closing and drove away and told our agent, if you find the cat, just make sure the cat gets a good home.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So there was a way that the cat could get into the wall. And so when the final walkthrough occurred, I guess the buyers were walking through the home, and so the cat would get afraid and hid. And this was the cat's hiding spot was behind the wall. They tried to get the cat out.
And they couldn't get him out?
Couldn't get him out.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So by the time the cat was found, it was days, maybe even a week later. And so our agent did find a new owner. No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I thought that was going to end bad.
Yeah.
No. They
That's what
found
I
it.
thought.
So all in the day, all in a day's work of a realtor, finding a new owner for this cat.
Isn't that part of your job? Was that in the contract?
That was not in the contract.
You're going to have to charge them rent now.
Yeah, but these are the things we do, right?
Yeah,
all right.
Absolutely. And I see a lot of, in the kitchen, they leave silverware, plates, and all types of cleaning
Pots
products.
and pans?
Pots and pans, yeah.
Wow.
It's all there. It's all there.
With us today is James Caceres, top producer with Century 21 Jack Ready Real Estate. How does someone get in touch with you, please?
I could be reached at 570-352-7106 or by email at enj.century21@gmail.com.
Thank you. Pat?
Yes, we have a move-in condition 2-bedroom home at 114 East Pine Street in Dunmore for $179,000. This home, it's in great condition. It's got beautiful hardwood floors throughout the first floor. This home has a large modern kitchen with cherry cabinets. It's got an open concept kind of a deal. It sits on a 50 by 120 lot with a rear balcony overlooking the yard. The taxes are only $2,300 a year. It has a new hot water heater, and this home is just waiting for a new family. That's a 2-bedroom home at 114 East Pine Street in Dunmore for only $179,000. And that's listed by Dan Callahan of our office.
Thank you. We'd like to welcome Melissa Campus Hoffman. She's had a lifelong interest in real estate and a deep-rooted belief in its value. She brings dedication, experience, and a personal touch to every transaction. Her journey began in real estate at 20 years old when she purchased her first rental property with the guidance of her father, who always reminded her that real estate is a solid investment because they're not making any more land. That early experience ignited her desire to become a real estate professional, but life, as it often does, had other intentions for her at that time. So she's just begun her real estate career with us now, and she's looking forward to it. She managed her family's jewelry store, and now she has the time to devote to real estate, and she's going to provide valuable guidance and a genuine care and a warm, supportive experience for all her real estate clients. So be sure to give Melissa. Please feel free to reach out to Melissa Campus Hoffman, and she can be reached at 570-472-5210. Stay with the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ready Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. We'll be back after a short break.
The talented team of professionals at Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate. They're not just real estate agents, they're agents of change. They're on a never-ending quest for the best for you and your family. They can help you find precisely what you want at this time in your life. A computer, a website, an app, and a listing by itself can't do that. They're the smart, the bold, and the fast. Embracing the what if, not just the what's been done before, with a level of accountability and honesty not found anywhere else in the real estate industry. Don't settle for average, okay, or just all right. This change in your life is monumental, and there's only one Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate that will help you rock that change. Call 570-344-6724 and visit jruddy.com, JRUDDY.com. Each Century 21 office is independently owned and operated.
We're back with more Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. I'm Jackie Ruddy, broker, and with Pat Devaney, my husband, fellow realtor.
We're back.
With James Caceres, full-time bilingual associate broker, top producer in 2024 at Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate. Quality Service Award winning agent for 2 years in a row with a 95% rating. Above 95% rating.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
Yeah, very much.
He's always working.
How many units last year? 61?
Something like that.
Yeah. Good.
I don't stop. I think Gloria at the office was like, do you ever sleep?
No. Yeah. No, you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so in your humble opinion, James.
Yes.
What's better, buying a house or renting a house? Which one is really better? And why?
In my opinion, I'd say buying a house.
Of course it is.
You own the property, you're not. I feel like when you rent, you're just throwing money away.
You are. You're putting the money in the landlord's pocket.
Exactly.
Now, there's some people that can't buy, you know, right?
Yeah, that's
Don't
true.
have job security or savings and,
But there are programs out there that do help you.
Right.
But then some people, I guess, they feel like, buying a house is not for them. They don't have the means, or they don't need a home. They feel more comfortable renting. So I could see that as well.
Right. Well, here's a wild thought. In the next 5 years, someone that's renting could spend between $63,000 and $220,000 on rent.
Yeah.
And at that end of that 5 years, own nothing.
Absolutely.
Right? So, say, for instance, someone out there has $1,000 a month rental payment.
Wow, that would be cheap.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's definitely not New York. Let me tell you that.
Well, we're not in New York.
Oh, no.
We're in Pennsylvania.
$1,000 up here is cheap, too.
That's
Right.
like a one-bedroom.
Okay. Well, for that single person out there spending $1,000 a month, in 5 years they'll spend $63,260 and have nothing to show
Plus
for it.
utilities, right?
And then in 10 years, that rental would be $130,000. That amount that they would pay in 10 years would be $133,000 at $1,000, and that's low. We've all decided that's a low amount. But what about somebody at $2,000 a month rent? Mm-hmm. In 5 years, they'd pay $126,500.
Wow.
In 10 years, that's $266,200.
Right.
So it just makes sense.
Right, because you get a mortgage for 30 years, and in 30 years, you pay that off. Mm-hmm. You know?
And sometimes, and owning requires discipline. And like you said, there are some things, maintenance, and upkeep and all of that. And some people just aren't up for that.
Right. I think the biggest fear they have is the repairs that, maintaining the property. Oh, if something breaks, I need to fix it. And whereas if they're renting and if they're lucky, something breaks, the landlord will fix it for them.
Yeah, some landlords.
Yeah, I mean, if you own a home and you have it for 20 years, you're going to have to put a roof on it. And we found out that ain't cheap.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the taxes, too. People always get concerned with the taxes. I hear a lot of buyers that I work with, when they're coming from renting, they're just, oh, how much are the taxes? And, you tell them, oh, it's $2,000, for the year. And they're like, what? They don't seem to realize, like, it goes with the mortgage, and it's less than $200 a month.
But there's the tax benefits, too, of owning a home.
Right?
Yeah.
You get to write off a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Building equity. Look at how, just because of the increase in prices, how much equity people have these days.
Right.
That own a home. And stable payments.
Mm-hmm.
That 30-year fixed mortgage is going to be the same every month. Whereas rent, every time you turn around, it could be increased.
Yeah. Right. When your lease is up, that's it.
Yeah, that's going up.
Ready.
It's going up.
It's going back up.
Right. And you're always building your credit when you're making your payments on time.
Right.
So, and freedom to do whatever you want with your property.
Exactly. You want to modify the room, you want to change the carpets, whatever. When you're renting, you have to ask for permission from the landlord. And a lot of times these tenants, they're modifying these apartments. They're spending out of their own money. And all it's doing is benefiting the landlord, because when your lease is up,
you're not taking it with you.
You're not taking it with you, right?
And also, if you say I'm a renter, I want to put an alarm system in, I have to get permission. And what if the landlord says no? Then I'm living without the alarm?
Right.
I'd rather have my own.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree there, 100%.
And how many landlords say no pets? And there's a lot of people that want, a dog, a cat, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's some things that you can't have when you rent. You're sacrificing. And then there's sacrifices when you buy. Financial discipline. It's not always easy to sock money away when you want to go to Aruba. So, I get it. But homeownership is not for everybody. But if someone could swing it, definitely do it, right?
Absolutely.
James Caceres, thank you for coming in with us and talking to us the last 2 weeks. We appreciate your time. How does someone get in touch with you, please?
Okay, I could be reached at 570-352-7106, or they can email me at enj.century21@gmail.com.
Thank you, James. Pat?
Yes, we have an amazing and a unique property. This is an equestrian estate with historic charm and endless possibilities. It's a 7-bedroom, 4-bath home at 654 Cribbs Road in Lakewood for $449,000. This home is stunning. It sits on 11 acres, and the front of it is really cool. It's a beautifully preserved 1888 general store with original fixtures, flooring, and wood. The 7-bedroom home is attached to the general store. The kitchen is huge and beautiful with original wood floors. It's got newer appliances and cabinets. You really have to see this to believe it. Now, the equestrian part of it. There's an 80 by 40 horse barn with 5 stalls, a wash bay, tack room, and garage, and it also has a resurfaced riding area. I don't do horses, but this place is amazing. That's an amazing historic general store, 7-bedroom home with 11 acres at 654 Cribbs Road in Lakewood for only $449,000, and that's listed by Kim Pizzanti of our office.
Oh, nice.
Thank you, Pat. We welcome Catherine Java, who's joined our real estate office. She's a dedicated real estate professional who values integrity, sincerity, and excellence in every transaction. She is somebody that goes above and beyond, and she approaches every challenge with determination and professionalism. She has an ability to connect with people, and that allows her to deliver results that exceed expectations. To get in touch with Catherine, please call 570-251-5203. Thanks for joining the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. We will be back next Saturday at 11 a.m., Sunday at 11:30 a.m. on 94.3 The Talker.